Great to see everybody again. Looking forward to another good season, and I'll just start by taking whatever questions you may have before we kick it off.
You had a chance to reflect last year's GM starting, and just looking forward to that?
Yeah, I haven't spent a lot of time on that really. Excited about the year. One of the things that we want to make sure we focus on is this year. Alex and I worked together hand in hand last year. I don't see anything being different this year, and it is a little strange though, knowing that there is an expiration date, but that doesn't affect this year's team, and they expect us to do our best, and we're going to do that.
I'm just going to miss doing this. Okay.
Yeah, that'll be the thing I miss the most.
When you look at the way last season ended in the regular season, where you guys were playing, how much of that do you expect to carry over the style of play, those types of things?
I think it's great that Monty's going to have a full training camp to get us ready. I think one of the things you want to be careful against is when you finish as strong as you did, that you think that that's going to be a natural carryover. One of the things you understand over time is that, like, Mayu doesn't care how we played, Suter doesn't care how we played, Buke doesn't care how well we played at the end. So we have to build our own team again. We have to start with that foundation. Now there's a lot of things that the players can remember and learn from last year, but to think they can just replicate it by showing up, hockey doesn't work that way, the NHL doesn't work that way, and just the understanding of, when I look at the Central Division, how strong that is right now, we have to be ready to go, the start of the season, and it's gonna be a battle every night. And one of the things that, when you're coming from behind, you can sneak up on teams. This year, hopefully that we prove to some teams that we're a capable opponent, and we'll get their best game and they'll get ours, and we'll see how we fit.
So if you flip it to a positive, what are some reasons why this team could continue the success?
Well, I think they showed when they played determined, selfless hockey, as Monty would say, that they're competitive. I think we have a good mix right now of veteran players like Shen and Parenko and Falk and Bukestad and older players that are at that point now, and then we have just a couple of guys in that mid-age. It's Thomas and Kyrou, and then a lot of younger guys that are 24, 25. So there's balance. There should be competition for ice time. There should be competition, to make the team, and then after you make the team, where you fit on what special teams, where you fit in the lineup. So I think they relished that competition last year. I think they understand that collectively we're better than we are as any individuals, and they can learn from that and hopefully present some of that this year. But again, it has to start basically from scratch.
Doug, you made a couple of good ads. Why do you think this team's better than the one that finished last year?
I think we're a little deeper. I also think that we do have some positive experiences to go off of, but I think bringing in two centermen doesn't put too much undue pressure on young players that are 20, 21 years old. I think, quite honestly, a lot changed, and I think we discussed this a little bit last year at the end, with bringing in Broberg and Holloway expedited this process. Right now, and then bringing Fowler in, we don't have to put the 3 first-rounders from 2 years ago into our lineup right now. If we didn't have those players, we probably would, and just sort of learn on the go. But the players showed enough last year for us to acquire veteran players, get back to the maturation that we've had in the past of letting players come at their own pace, come at their own time. And so I think experience players helps us. I think having youth being served to some extent, but making it earned, I think is better for us long term than making them earn it than to give it to them.
Doug, you kind of touched on it right there a couple of years ago, after a number of veterans were traded away, talking about kind of a new start, a retool. How far ahead of schedule is this to what you maybe thought it would be right now?
I don't think you sort of have a schedule that you go by. It was difficult. We moved on from some great Blues players that brought us a lot of success, but contracts were expiring, and we made decisions. We've tried to stay competitive as we're doing this, and some teams go a different approach where they'll go working for a first overall pick maybe for a few years and hoping that player turns out to be a superstar and they can build around that. that wasn't the way we wanted to go, partly because I just thought with Thomas and Kyrou and Binnington, there was enough players. I don't think we could ever really get to the bottom comfortably. And so we went a different direction. And again, I credit our pro staff and our amateur staff of finding players that we can be in here. You know, I think when we talked last year, I thought we might surprise some teams. We might be a little bit better. My expectations would be a little bit greater this year. That I like where we finished. I like where we're headed. With the caveat, though, that the Central Division is better than it was last year at this time, and the league is probably better just because of the increase in cap space. There wasn't teams that were fighting at the top that had to disperse their players because of cap issues. It's a little bit more normal to where it was pre-pandemic, that you know, a bag contract is usually absorbed within a year or two by the cap going up.
Doug, with the
I'm going over here.
yeah, Milan Lucic. Obviously, there's no commitment, no risk there for you guys bringing him in. But how much homework did you guys feel like you needed to do with his situation, which led to him, you know, being out of the game for a little while there before you did that?
We certainly did our due diligence. You know, I talked to Milan, obviously. I talked to his family. I talked to his sponsor. I talked to the league. You know, he's 22 months sober now. There's a lot of things that he does behind the scenes that I'll let him describe. But I think one of the things that I appreciate about Mr. Stillman is his willingness to allow me to discuss second chances, allow me to paint the picture of, you know, why I believe it's worth the risk. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And you know, but it's not just a second chance based on hockey. You have to have everything else in place, and Milan does. And now it's his responsibility to continue that off the ice. But now it's, I assume, you know, we'll monitor that. Now he's got to see if he can play hockey in the NHL. He hasn't done that in a while. If he can, he's an element player. He's a big, strong player. He commands respect. He makes everybody on the team stand a little taller, maybe hang into the scrum a little longer, knowing that he's coming in behind them. And he and I have talked about this, like the NHL, I don't think we got pushed around last year, but there was 3 or 4 teams that felt a little more comfortable than they will be if he can still play and be on our roster.
How much did how much did Monty, just his familiarity and then also just his own sort of situation play into that?
Well, as I said, I go back to our ownership group and our group in general willing to give second opportunities. Monty didn't have a long relationship with Luch. I think it was it 4 or 5 games or something, so and a training camp. But you know, I've known Milan off and on through Hockey Canada at different times. I was the manager of the World Championship team he was on that won a few years ago. You spend a month with the guy, you get to know him, and then one of the things I shared with him that was very interesting when I was at the orientation camp in Calgary, how many of the competitors that were there are hoping good things for him, not just the players like Marchand, but he has universal respect for the way he played the game, and guys, like, if he's earned it, which I think he has off the ice, guys would love to see him write the chapter, whenever the finishing chapter is, different than the way it is today.
Along those lines of second chances, it's not apples and apples, but we've talked about Logan before, but can you just describe why he, as a person, has overcome what he did and is ready to go?
Yeah, I think if you go back to his draft year, he had asked not to be drafted that year. He wanted to get, you know, things in order, and he got drafted. But that didn't stop him from going through the proper rehabilitation things, for a better term, that he felt he needed to go through. Again, the league and the PA are heavily involved in these things. Then watching him when he did get reinstated, how he played in the American Hockey League, it became, as time passes and behavior patterns become more recognizable over a long term, it became a hockey decision at that point. And the hockey decision was a very hard decision for us. You know, when you draft a player like Bolduc and you develop him, and he's at every development camp, and you see the impact he has on your team last year, it's a hard decision, you know. But seeing some of the depth that we had up front, seeing an area to improve our team with a player like Mayu, right shot defenseman, can play the power play, physical. It seemed like to readjust the depth charts, it made sense for us. And in the NHL, you have to give to get. Like we got Ryan O'Reilly, but we gave up Tage Thompson. Like that, those are trades that I think everyone's happy with, and hopefully this is one that Montreal and the St. Louis Blues look back fondly on.
Are there any injuries that will limit guys in training camp or in the season?
I'm getting Pekarik got hurt a little bit. I was never get that name right, but he got hurt a little bit he'll miss the first day or two of camp from Minnesota. Torrey Krug did his medical yesterday, did not pass that. There's no expectations he'll play again this year. Other than that, little bumps and bruises, but nothing I think that's too big.
With Krug, is that a situation where if he does go on LTI, it will be the full cap hit because he won't be playing?
Yeah, so there's off-season and in-season LTI. It's complicated, but our goal is to wait and put him on in-season, which gives us a greater ability to use that money as the season goes along.
But the expectation is it would be as close to his full cap hit.
That's if we can get. It's a math equation. We got to get as close to the top, then put him on. Which I'd like to do. I just get the owner to sign off on that.
I guess the number you're going off would be 6.5 and not 3.8 or whatever.
Yes.
Go back to
I'm
Mayu.
sorry. Yeah.
Mayu for a second. When you acquired him, you said we want to give him a chance to play. Is that kind of, as we head into training camp here, still kind of the game plan? Give him some runway, let him show you that he can be opening that lineup?
Yeah. I was honest with him. It's his job to lose, and I find honesty's probably easier both ways when it's positive and negative. He's put the work in this summer. He understands that we have experienced players ahead of him in Parenko and Falk. He's battling Kessel. He's battling different guys to make the team for ice time. But our belief, as I said, I told you what I thought we gave him Bolduc. It wasn't to get a career minor leaguer. So I think that he's done his things now where, if he can make our team, we're going to grow with him. We're hoping to grow with him. But again, me hoping and him doing, I hope those coexist. But working with Al McGinnis and having a chance to keep so many great hockey players in our organization that, when do you know we have an NHL defenseman? I'll let you know after 200 games. So he's got a long way to go. I'm not too concerned how the next month goes for the long term, but he'd like to get off to a good start, and I'd like him to get off to a good start.
What's your current view on that third line in your role? How do you view that as of today?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of competition for it. You have, I don't want to do Monty's job for him. I have my depth charts up, but you have a guy like Texier that wants to fight into that spot. You have Joseph that wants to fight into that spot. You have Dvorsky that would like to battle his way into that. You have Stenberg that wants to pop into that group. There's a lot of players that want to pop into that group. So I think if you look at that, we probably have 8 of 9 top 9 spots taken. Bukestad wants to slide into there somewhere, and that's what we want. We want competition. I think we have that right now. But as everyone is, that's today before they've gone up, and who knows what it's going to like tomorrow or the first day with injuries. But I think there's going to be good competition for that group of 9. I think Sundqvist, Walker, Torp, can provide us really good depth there too. So I do like our depth. And Monty and I have talked about this. The depth is great, but we're going to need the big dogs to be the big dogs. We're going to need a great year from Thomas. We're going to need a great year from Buchnevich, a great year from Kyrou, Shen. There's a lot of guys that need to carry the load. And when we do that, I think our depth can be the difference in winning and losing games. But it all starts with the top 2 lines being as good as the other team's top 2 lines.
Doug, along those lines, with the young guys, Dvorsky, Stenberg, those type of guys that are coming in here to try to take a job from somebody else, what do they need to show you that maybe they're ready now?
Well, we saw some of that in Minnesota. It's going to be the hockey sense. It's going to be the competitiveness in certain areas. my expectation is for Jim to have a very competitive training camp. You know, a lot of battle drills, how they can compete in that. They're going to get exhibition games. You know, again, I don't want to do Jim's job for them, but the way we've organized the first few days of training camp, we have 2 veteran players with what, you know, Carboneau's with a good line. All these guys are with good lines, these first round picks, these guys that should have the skill level from where they were drafted, and we'll take a look at that with that group. And then, you know, but there's always somebody that pops up underneath that wants to get your attention too. So training camp is very important for a lot of guys this year, and you know, we have 6 exhibition games. Usually we have a few more than that, so everyone's going to have to put their best foot forward. But you know, if you're not here on October 9th, doesn't mean you won't be here on November 9th. So it's easier for me to say, it's up for people to accept, but we're in this for the long haul of continuing to get better, and contracts, you know, won't exclude you from being in the NHL if you're good enough.
Doug,
what are your expectations for Jimmy Snugger this season? What did he prove last year?
Yeah, again, I feel bad talking lately. A manager, you hope for the best and prepare for the worst. Like you couldn't find a more perfect storm for a young player to come into a lineup. The team was on a roll. The attitude was fantastic. The health was good. You know, it was plug and play. You know, then you get to the playoffs, you play every other day. You're not traveling that much. Your body doesn't wear down. It's going to be a new world for him right now, starting with training camp, the grind of a training camp, and then you're on the road and you start in St. Louis, then you go to Calgary, Vancouver, shoot home, and then you're back out. Like it's a different animal. We expect big things from him. I know Monty expects really big things from him. The way he used him last year with our top players, he's going to get that opportunity. He's put a ton of work in this summer, but again, like with a player like Monty, a player like Mayu, or I'm not Monty, a player like Snuggy, like Mayu, I'm not concerned like what they look like the first 2 weeks of the season. We're in the long haul with some of these guys, but we're also in the winning business, and if they can't do it, that's okay. Somebody else will until they're ready.
You mentioned the games up in Minnesota. What or who made an impression on you?
Well, I just felt the rewarding thing, I think, for Tony Feltrin and his staff, our best players were our top picks, you know, pretty well all the way through that group. So, and I thought the goalie was outstanding too. You know, Fisher had a big fight there that got everyone's attention. So everybody, I thought, contributed well in that event. So it'd be hard just to pick up 1 or 2 players. There was stats there. I'm good, thanks. There was stats there that, you know, guys had points, but you didn't have to get points to get noticed by the coaches, and I thought everyone did a nice job.
Doug, what are some benefits of a full off-season and a full training camp with Jim Montgomery and his staff?
Yeah, I think they're going to be huge. I think, you know, his preparation for this training camp, it started very quickly after that Winnipeg series ended, and he and I talked when we hired him that, you know, I think he has the personality that can coach a team as they get better, then coach a team when it's good. And we're still in the process of seeing where we are getting better, but I think he has the character, and he has the mannerisms, and he has the approach that he understands what we're trying to build, but we're closer to the finished product now than we were a year ago at this time, and his job is to keep pushing and prodding. But I think the expectations he's going to set are going to be seen in day one, and hopefully the players understand the gravity of the importance of camp, of details, and he'll speak to you guys about what he expects from details. There's some cornerstone things that he wants on his teams, on and off the ice, in the room, and their preparation that he's put in place, and he'll be demanding that those are met.
With Robert Thomas, what are kind of the next steps for him, and how big can the Olympics be as a carrot for him?
I think the Olympics will be a byproduct of his game. You know, he's one of like 90 Canadians that want to make the Olympic team. So he has a realistic chance. You know, he got derailed last year with an injury. He's an offensive catalyst for us. You know, he has to be a great face-off player. He's got to be able to kill penalties. He's got to be able to play well at the last 5 and 6 minutes of games. His energy level's got to stay high. And if he does that for our team, we'll be in a good spot, and that will help his Olympic likelihood. But what you can't have with international events the way they're now every other year with this in the World Cup, that if you have an injury, if you don't make that team, you write off the rest of the year. I mean, these are our day jobs, what we're doing today. That's just a nice, beautiful 2-week event that everybody gets revved up for, but hopefully that's not the focus or the dictation of what he's looking to accomplish this year.
Doug, going back to Dvorsky for a second, how do you balance, is he NHL ready? We need to get him in NHL games. Does he have more to prove in the American Hockey League? How can it affect him if he stays there? How do you balance that?
Well, I think, as I said, we're going to see in training camp where he's at. We saw him against his peers last year in the World Junior. We saw him against his peers the year before in the OHL. He's got talent. He's got puck vision. He's got a shot. You can get better in small increments practicing at the NHL level. You can't get better only practicing at the NHL and not playing. So there'll be a point where if he's on our roster and not playing, that management trumps coaches and he's going down, he's going to play. We want to build a finished product here, and that's with Stenberg, that's with all these guys, Mayu, Jake Neighbors, remember his first year, he had to go down. It is what it is. We want to stay in the long haul for guys like Devo, but his mindset is making the team, and his mindset is when he makes the team is to steal ice time and to play. And he's not a fourth line player. We're not going to have him go out there and chip chase. Don't worry about the puck. For him to be a good player, the puck has to be part of the equation, and he's going to get the opportunity to show that over the next 3 weeks.
Doug's the calculus on Carbonneau is slightly different there, but when you think about the trial period that you could potentially have versus sending him back down to juniors, how do you work through that as you think about how he could potentially make this roster?
Well, I just go back on our history where we haven't had a lot of players, maybe Robbie Thomas and Robbie Fabry, make the team at 19. Now you'll see, I think he's going to play with some good players in camp. We're going to take a look at it. I'm not here to dash his hopes and dreams of having a good camp, but the likelihood of him making our team isn't great. But I didn't think it was for Robbie Fabry either that year. If he comes in and he's good enough and he slides into that right wing spot somewhere, he can have it. He's just got to keep everybody out. So the difference was when he goes back to junior, he's in junior. But again, we're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We have a long-term approach with him, as we do all our young players, and we're not going to deviate from that for self-gratification of having a first-round pick in our lineup.
Hey Doug, if I can ask about you yourself, can you describe this journey it's been on, whether it's retool or whatever you want to call it, building this team, and of course making the playoffs last year, and now heading into this vital year for many reasons? Your emotions, your mindset.
Yeah, again, you stay grounded, try and, the manager's job is to look, this year, 3 years ahead, 5 years ahead. I don't have to look 5 years ahead. But I'm excited about how quickly our players have responded to this. I'm excited about how some of our younger players have taken this as a challenge, whether it's a Jake Neighbors or a Hofer or a Tucker, and then you get Broberg and you get Holloway. They didn't want to be part of a losing organization. They didn't want that to become the norm, and then the veteran players allowing that to happen and taking it. So I'm happy, excited, proud, maybe as a elder statesman of 60 years old working with these 20-year-olds, but I'm proud of them. I'm proud of what they've accomplished, and that's the hard part of telling them how you're proud of them, but that doesn't mean anything tomorrow. We got to do it again, and then after next year they got to do it again. But there's growth there, and I'm excited about how quickly we've got back to the playoffs. Disappointed, immensely disappointed how that ended. Hopefully that's a learning thing, but again, I'm not looking too far into the future down memory lane yet. There's enough work to do here, and I say that with all seriousness. These players don't care about me and what I'm going to do next year. They just want to have a good year. They want to make money. They want to have a good season. They want to take Steiner to the woodshed contract-wise, and I want to help them do that.
Hey, Doug, How would you? What's your sense of where Holloway is as far as bouncing back physically, and how that may or may not impact his ability to build on last season?
He and I talked last couple of days. He's in great place physically. Mentally, he's even in a better place. When I talked to him, Broberg, about the whirlwind things that they did last year, end of July, they're Edmonton Oilers, then for a week they're an NHL property, and then they're St. Louis Blue, and then coming here and having to deal with the expectations. Well, St. Louis overpaid, they paid too much, the other team should have kept them. Like there was all that debris that they had to deal with, and then for them to play as well as they did last year, I think was both of those players was very good. Holloway took it to a level of his draft position, I guess. He was a top pick, and he played like a top pick, as Broberg did. And if we're going to be a good team, Holloway has to replicate that, or very close to replicating. It's not just point wise. Probably the hardest working player we have in our organization right now. You come in here on a Sunday morning and you think you have the place to yourself, and then you hear this pucks clanging around, and he's in the shooting room. Like he's a hockey player. He loves it. He works extremely hard. His conditioning is off the charts. Better person than player too. Like he's the full package of what you would want in an organization, and we learned that after we got him. You don't know those things until you get them in the room. But he's a core piece of what we have going, and he wants to be a core piece too.
Speaking of taking Steiner to the woodshed, you said at the end of the season that you're in no rush with Broberg, Holloway, Fowler. Is that still kind of the stance?
Yeah, we've talked to everyone individually about their contracts. We'll do it behind closed doors, but especially Broberg and Holloway, I'll talk to specifically that, and I said this to laughing. I said, you're not going anywhere. You're restricted free agents, except we got you by offer sheet. So, so it might happen again. But we're going to leave enough space. They know how important we see them. But I also want them to get to know St. Louis a little bit more. Make sure they're comfortable with our team, which is going to happen. But it's not something that they expect to be done quickly, or we're even going to try and worry about quickly. They know that if for us to be where we want to get to, where Alex wants to take this team, they're big parts of it. We've told them that. They understand that, and the contracts always take care of himself. I've never seen a good player be underpaid very long.
Just ask a couple small housekeeping things. So on Eurochap, is he AHL eligible?
He is, yes.
If he's not here, do you guys have a plan for where that looks like?
That's a debate, not a debate. That's a conversation that we're having internally. Alan Walsh is his representative. He and I go way back. The likelihood of junior is probably the greatest, only because putting his feet somewhere and growing. You put a guy and talking to Alan, he made some really good points that I took to heart. Like if you don't think he's going to be in a certain spot for the year, I'm not sure how much he's going to grow, how much he's going to understand sitting in a hotel for 6 weeks, not having any sense of community, not having any sense of belonging. He missed a lot of time last year. He's like Carbonneau, another guy that you have penciled in some spot, but time's going to tell. But again, we're going to do right by him long term, more than short term, and we have a lot of 19-year-olds that usually go back to the CHL if they're eligible, saying that Dvorsky didn't, but he was at a different stage.
And then just a small thing on Susi, how did that kind of happen, the signing with him?
I thank our Russian agent. He stayed on him. He said he wanted to come here. I'm dealing with the Russians, so I can get him out of his contract. We're like, sure you can. But he actually got him out of his contract, and so when that happened, we were excited. It's hard for us because we draft the Russian players based on video. We're going by zero personal views. But I said to the guys, there's no sense drafting these guys if we don't want to take chances and bring him over. So when he got out, we thought this is the perfect opportunity. We'll get him over here, see what he can do.